Submitted for your consideration, an alternative suspect in the OJ Simpson fiasco. Public opinions reveal that folks are fairly split on the idea whether OJ Simpson was guilty or not of the brutal murder of his ex-wife Nicole and her friend Ron Goldman shortly after 10 p.m. the night of June 12, 1994. For nearly a year and a half, the media provided never-ending coverage of the judicial circus billed as the trial of the century, yet without a conviction, justice has never truly been served. If Orenthal James Simpson, OJ, was not guilty as a jury found, then indeed, who is guilty of this horrendous double murder? On October 3, 1995, hours after the jury reached its verdict, Jason Simpson, eldest son of OJ, made a public statement on his father's behalf that OJ will pursue as my primary goal in life the killer or killers who slaughtered Nicole and Mr. Goldman. They are out there somewhere. Whatever it takes to identify them and bring them in, I will provide somehow. OJ has never acted upon this pledge. What reason would OJ have to endure not only the trial, tarnish his name and reputation forever, and yet not pursue the killer as he promised? One compelling motive for such action would be to protect his son Jason, who had the means, motive, and opportunity to commit that frightful crime. Who is Jason Simpson? Born April 21, 1970, during OJ's first marriage to Marguerite Simpson, Jason was a child when his dad started dating Nicole Brown in June of 1977, while his mother was pregnant with his brother Aaron Simpson, born in October of that year. Aaron Simpson died in August 1979 in a swimming pool accident at the North Rockingham home. Jason required psychological counseling to deal with that trauma, as well as help in adjusting to OJ's divorce from his mother 1 year later. Jason has a well-documented history of drug and alcohol abuse, and has spent time in psychiatric wards, once after stabbing himself in the stomach in front of his girlfriend, whom he was threatening to kill. Diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder by Dr. Burton Kitt, a psychologist, Jason had been on the psychotropic drug Depakote for nearly 5 years at the time of the murder. Some of the long-term effects of Depakote on the central nervous system are emotional upset, depression, psychosis, and aggression. At the time of the murder, Jason was on probation for felonious assault on a previous employer. The motive. Working as a chef at the upscale Jackson's restaurant, Jason had long been planning to prepare a special family dinner that evening in honor of his half-sister Sydney's recital. Nicole telephoned Jason as he arrived at work that day to inform him that not only would OJ be excluded from the family dinner, but she would prefer to go to the Mezzaluna restaurant where her good friend Ron Goldman worked. We can only speculate Jason's disappointment regarding this cancellation. Co-workers stated that after her call he was extremely upset. Jason had lifelong issues with Nicole and OJ's relationship, and it was no secret that Jason had always felt Nicole was the source of most of his father's misery. The means. Jason left work that night taking home his bag of professionally sharpened chef's knives, which he often did. However, I do not believe that he had planned to harm or murder anyone. The location and brutality of the murders makes it fairly clear that it was, as they say, a crime of passion or rage. Jason never returned to that job, and the murder weapon, a knife, has never been found. The opportunity. During the initial investigation, the police were under the assumption that Jason had worked his full shift until 11 p.m. that evening. Later, during the civil trial held a year after the criminal trial, Jason's sworn testimony was that he left work early, about 9:30 p.m. that tragic evening, and he went home and watched TV. Not exactly an airtight alibi. It was not unusual for Jason to visit Nicole's home, nor for the two of them to argue. It may well be that Jason went over to her home to confront her about yet another bitter disappointment in his troubled life. Forensic evidence reveals that Ron Goldman was murdered first. Did Jason unexpectedly encounter Ron outside the condo while he was simply returning a pair of eyeglasses? Ron Goldman had a genuine friendship with Nicole, as well as a reputation for speaking his mind about issues. Did he verbally confront Jason? It seems a very likely scenario. There was no doubt a struggle outside that brought Nicole to her front door. What did she see? She clearly had defensive wounds on her hands. Her fatal injuries were far more gruesome than Ron's. By the way, I decided not to include pictures of the murder scene, although I will remind you that Nicole was nearly beheaded. These repeated stabbings and slashings would be consistent with increasing anger and fear on the part of Jason Simpson during the course of the murders. A lifetime of rage may well have come to a boiling point that fateful night. The cover-up. Phone records show that OJ received a brief call at his home about 10:20 p.m. that evening, a problem in the timeline the prosecution avoided. Perhaps Jason called his father for help, and indeed OJ would have come to his rescue. It appears that OJ drove to Nicole's and quickly returned Jason to his estate to help him clean up and escape the murder scene. This answers several questions that were never clearly explained during OJ's trial. How blood got on the passenger side of OJ's Bronco, the mysterious bag OJ took with him in the limousine ride to the airport, perhaps Jason's chef's bag, disposed of and never recovered. Most importantly, it accounts for why the DNA match was not perfect, only 1 in 170 million, within the parameters of a blood relative. Forensic expert Dr. Lee, who had testified for the defense, stated 2 days after the trial ended, quote, "They went for the wrong Simpson," unquote. What OJ Simpson theory would be complete without mentioning the glove? During OJ's trial, it was revealed that Nicole Simpson purchased 2 pairs of those rare gloves from Bloomingdale's, a gift for both OJ and Jason Simpson. If Jason were trying to escape OJ's house without being detected, he may well have dropped the errant glove. Once OJ decided to cover up for Jason, he set in motion a chain of events that he could not have foreseen. And I believe that the love and protection of a child is a strong motivation to endure almost any suffering. The larger issue here is crucial to the credibility and effectiveness of our justice system. If OJ is innocent of murder, as the jury found, and I agree, then the guilty party walks free. The ineptitude of the police and the prosecutor to convict the murderer will forever prevent needed closure for Nicole's children, Sydney and Justin. The media feeding frenzy on such high-profile cases does a great disservice to the delicate balance of our justice system.